Greetings, believers and non-believers. This is Rabbit Ape here with some stuff about election '08. Yeah, so I was watching a video from CDK007, which included a link to this really neato website, www.selectsmart.com/president/2008.html. There you go. And this is basically, it's a series of questions relating to various political issues, and you click how you feel about them and how strongly you feel about them, and then based on publicly made statements or voting records or whatever of the candidates, it tries to figure out which is the best candidate for you based on how they stand on the issues. It's not a perfect system. I don't know who programmed the the workings of the the way it calculates, and what someone says they're going to do and what they actually do in office can be very different things. But it's a step in the right direction, and I really wish more people would be doing this kind of thing. So here I am making a video. And another YouTuber by the name of, I think, Curdyline73, I'm not sure, and I'm not going to check right now. But he's a great guy. He's got some very thought-provoking stuff, and he did something, what I'm about to do, so thanks for the idea. Rather than just tell you where the thing is, I'm going to go through these questions and tell you, how I feel about these things and why. I don't want to get too elaborate on any of these, and I might not be that informed. I don't know what all the questions are, so here we go. Okay, so there appears to be question 0, which may or may not be there or be the same when you click this. So I've got, what would your ideal candidate's position on a federal gas moratorium be? And would you favor temporarily lifting the gasoline tax, labeling it as needed relief for America's drivers? Or would you oppose temporarily lifting the gasoline tax, calling it a costly gimmick that would actually raise prices by increasing demand? And I'm going to have to go with lifting that. That is needed relief for America's drivers. Most people out there don't have that much money to burn, and yeah, gasoline prices being what they are, and food prices going up, and everything else, it's not good. So I'm going to rate it as a low priority, though, because I don't know much about economics. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. What would your ideal candidate's position be on the Iraq war at the beginning of the war? Would have opposed Bush's original request to use military force in Iraq? Yes. Hi. That's pretty important to me. I knew it seemed like a bad idea at the time. Seems like a bad idea now. A lot more people think that now than did back then. Freaking told you so. So, yeah. Number 2, what would be your ideal candidate's position on leaving Iraq? Would support President Bush's policy of no timeline for withdrawal in Iraq? Hell no. Would support a deadline for withdrawal in Iraq? Yes. Hi. Alright. Number 3, what would be your ideal candidate's position on balancing civil liberties and security? Would lean toward protecting civil liberties even though it might risk our security, or would lean towards decreasing civil liberties as a way to increase security? I'm going to have to go with the first one there. Got to have those civil liberties. Let's see if I can... Okay, I'll make that high. And number 4, what would be your ideal candidate's position on Social Security? Would work to make it solvent, possibly raising the earnings ceiling and or the retirement age, etc., or B, would consider other options, including privatization. I really don't like the idea of privatization of Social Security. I do feel pretty strongly about that, but at the same time, I know it's a subject I don't know too much about, so yeah, I'll leave that in the middle. Number 5, what would be your ideal candidate's position on embryonic stem cell research? I would support federal expansion of embryonic stem cell research. Yes, so and that's high. Go science. Number 6, what would be your ideal candidate's position on school choice? Would oppose publicly funded voucher programs that allow students to choose to attend any of various participating private and public schools? Yeah, I'm going to have to oppose that. I don't know, I guess in short, something about like, I guess you can make a case for fostering competition between schools is a good thing. Something about that, that doesn't seem the right way to do it. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Moving on. Number 7, what would be your ideal candidate's position on gay and lesbian issues? Would oppose both marriage and civil unions for same-sex couples? No. Would support both marriage and civil unions for same-sex couples? Yes. Yes. You cannot make a secular argument against allowing responsible, consenting adults to form that kind of relationship between each other. And the whole civil union thing too. That's like the. You know what? I'm just going to show a picture. To the extent that if you're going to have a civil union, the only way it can really work is if it is functionally equivalent to marriage in all respects. Otherwise, you're not treating these people fairly. And if you're going to do that, what's the point? It's just some people get hung up on the label marriage itself. I kind of think it would be a good idea in a way to not have civil unions as a separate entity, but basically effectively go through our law books, and anywhere where the word marriage is referenced, just change that to civil union, and there will be no such thing as a legal marriage. We'll just have civil unions. And if you want to call it a marriage, great. If you don't, great. But you can't tell someone else that they can't call that relationship a marriage. That's yeah. And yeah, I feel strongly about that, in case you can't tell. Number 8. What would be your ideal candidate's position on trade issues? Would support free trade, with a little Wikipedia definition, and would support fair trade policies, with a little Wikipedia definition. And based on the Wikipedia definition and just the sound of it, which maybe not the best way to make that decision, but I like the sound of fair trade better. And that's, I've heard some bad things about the way, especially the United States is kind of this imperial economic power, fucking people up with our stuff, so I feel strongly about it, but again, I'm not as well informed as I should be, so I'm going to leave the priority in the middle, but, yeah, fair trade as opposed to free trade. I think you can have your cake and eat it too in that situation, so. Number 9, what would be your ideal candidate's position on taxes and government services? There are 2 basic schools of thought on this topic. One side says a society is judged by the way it treats its most vulnerable members. And yeah, I like that. The other side says reduce taxes so people can keep their money to solve their own problems. And, that just doesn't work. So my ideal candidate would favor the government should help the people positions of groups such as the Children's Defense Fund and the Alliance for Retired Americans. Yeah. Alright, number 10. What would be your ideal candidate's position on the deficit? Would raise taxes and or reduce spending if necessary to reduce deficit and balance the budget in keeping with the philosophy of the Concord Coalition. I have no idea who they are. Would not be concerned with the deficit in keeping with the philosophy of supply-side economics. No, yeah, deficit, bad. Yeah. 11, what would be your ideal candidate's position on business and labor? Would favor the pro-business positions of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and similar groups, or would favor the pro-labor positions of the AFL-CIO and similar groups, and yeah, the pro-labor positions, that's... Number 12, what would be your ideal candidate's position on abortion? Would support the pro-choice positions of organizations like NARAL, or would support the pro-life positions of organizations like National Right to Life Committee. And, yeah, pro-choice, I'm not in favor of third trimester Falcon punches or anything like that, but and there's a line to be drawn somewhere in there, but to at least that's, and to me that's kind of, I guess that's the important thing, is where people draw the line. But I'm not going to talk about where I draw the line, but I will say at the very least that a freshly fertilized egg is not a human being. It's a cell. It's a lump of cells. Number 14. What would be your ideal candidate's position on marijuana laws? I would not advocate any sort of legalization of marijuana. No. Would support legalization for doctor-prescribed medical use of marijuana. I would take that. But I would definitely support a general decriminalization of marijuana. Yeah, I feel very strongly about that. The government shouldn't be able to really tell you what you can do in the privacy of your home or your mind, as long as your actions aren't harming anyone else or impinging on their freedoms, etc., etc., etc. Number 15. What would be your ideal candidate's position on gun control? Would support gun control legislation recommended by groups such as the Brady Campaign to prevent gun violence, and yeah, I'm going to have to click that. Or would oppose gun control legislation, supports positions of groups such as the NRA and the Gun Owners of America. And yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that too. Now, I'm not sure if I'd go so far as to have it, like say in England, like Bill Hicks talks about. That might be a little too much, because then, the only people that have guns are criminals, etc., etc., etc. The Second Amendment is a pretty good thing, but that doesn't have to mean that you're allowed to have, a fucking tank or assault rifle, things that are, over and above what one needs for self-defense. And I'm not going to pretend to know exactly where that line is right now, but that's the way you would discuss that. It doesn't, you don't need a fucking tank, right? And if you can agree with me on that, then, we can draw the line somewhere. Number 16. What would be your ideal candidate's position on the minimum wage? Would have a history of supporting increases in the minimum wage. Would have a history of opposing increases in the minimum wage. And yeah, I gotta say, increase the minimum wage. That's high on my list. It's fucking ridiculous. No one who makes minimum wage is opposed to increasing the minimum wage. It's pretty easy to say, oh, it's fine. They're okay. Hold on. Let me get a calculator here. Okay, so right now the minimum wage is $6.55. All right. So if you're working a 40-hour work week, 8 hours Monday through Friday, right? That should be enough to make enough money to support your family, right? That's $262. Okay, now you're going to have approximately 20% taken out from taxes, and that's going to leave you with $209.06, or 60 cents, excuse me. $209.60 every week to make ends meet, and alright, and then if you multiply that by 52 weeks a year, you've got $10,899.20 every year. Take home pay, divide that by 12 to get, your typical month, or your average month. That's $908 a month. Okay, now if your rent, at least in where I live, metropolitan area, you literally pretty much can't find an apartment to rent that's going to be less than $400 a month. So minus $400, that's, so now you've got $508 for the month, and that's not even for your bills or anything. And let's say you got to drive to work, and even conservatively, you're probably, I'll say, $60 a month on gas. That's not very much. All right, I'm sure plenty of people spend more than that. You're going to go to the grocery store, once a week, and spend $40 on food. Which is not very extravagant. Okay, yeah, so we'll say $175 a month on food. All right, so we're going to take that out. That's just buying groceries, right? So now we got $273. You might have electricity and or phone and or water and or gas, and so let's say 150 for other utilities, and maybe you've got car insurance, and it will be really cheap here. That's $50 a month, and so we're down to $73, by the way, for the month. And what else do you got? And maybe I think it's reasonable for maybe a human being wants to go out once a month, maybe watch a movie, have a nice meal somewhere once a month, and let's say if you're a parent and you've got a child, that might be you go out to a movie. That's maybe $30 for one day of fun once a month. Now leaving you with $43. Okay, and okay, so I'm just doing this off the top of my head, and I'm already down to $43 for the month, and that's not counting just the random chance chaos of life. Shit happens. Your car breaks down. I haven't even put car payments on here. So yeah, minimum wage needs to be higher. Number 17. What would be your ideal candidate's position on health care? Would oppose a government-provided universal health care program for Americans, or would favor a government-provided universal health care program for Americans? Come on now. This, again, should be a fucking no-brainer, high priority. I know, people complain that, the quality won't be as good. Don't talk to me about the quality not being as good. Like, I've needed to have my wisdom teeth pulled out for, 4 years or so. Like, it's every couple months, it seems like, I just get, like, this kind of weird, almost infection kind of state. It gets really painful and swollen, and, but, I fucking can't afford to get it checked out, and it doesn't keep me from doing anything I need to do, really. It never gets bad enough that keeps me from going to work. Even if it did, that, I don't have sick days or anything like that, so I just have to deal with it. And and I know that there are people that have it worse than me. That's the thing. I'm not trying to say, oh no, look at me, I'm so but I'm surviving. I could be a lot worse. I'm not trying to whine about my position, but I'm saying that I know there are other people out there, and I actually, I'm not going to say what I make a lot more than minimum wage, and I still have a hard time, getting all that shit together. So, yeah. I'm sure there are millions of people who don't make enough money to be able to get proper coverage, and, because of that, they don't get things checked out when they should, and which can lead, to really bad problems later on. Right now, like my wisdom teeth thing, that's not so bad, but say someone that has like cancer or heart problems, or there's that's what I'm saying. There are lots of people that with the system that we have now, or lack thereof, they're just left out in the cold, and so if that's important to you, then you should support a government-funded healthcare program. And I don't see why we can't have that and then also have private practices on the side for people that can't afford it. Yeah, you can get top-notch, fucking hotel hospitals, but there should be at least a minimum standard of basic care, which we don't have. And, just look at any other Western industrialized nation, and we're just lagging behind on that. It's just another one of those quirky things about us. So let's fix it. Okay, number 18. What would be your ideal candidate's position on prescription drugs? Would favor allowing citizens to purchase drugs from Canada and elsewhere abroad? Would favor the federal government negotiating with drug manufacturers to get the best possible price? Both of the above, or none of the above? And, I guess both of the above there. And, on the subject of prescription drugs, it's to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure about this, but it kind of doesn't matter because it still seems like a good idea. But I've heard that, yeah, in most Western industrialized nations, drug companies can't advertise, say, on television, and that totally makes sense to me. It seems like a good idea. Like, what do you people think about that? It's you know, you like, especially what really bugs me is when you see a commercial for a drug and they don't tell you what it's for, what it's about. I don't know if that happens anymore. I don't watch that much TV. But even when they do, you know, it's like, it's kind of funny when half the commercial is listing side effects, and I don't know, like it seems to me that the consumer, you know, your average person isn't a medically trained professional and shouldn't be making those kind of decisions, you know. So when they say, ask your doctor about da-da-da-da, no, if my doctor knows about it, then, you know, maybe he'll recommend it for me, he or she, or not. And, yeah, so I hope that makes sense. So I'll say both of the above. Number 19, what would be your ideal candidate's position on environmental issues? Would favor positions of environmental groups like the League of Conservation Voters, or would oppose positions of environmental groups like the League of Conservation Voters? And yeah, I'm going to favor that strongly. You know, you don't. There are extremes, I guess, with any kind of belief or whatever, you know, like including environmentalism. And I'm not necessarily a tree-hugging hippie or anything, but to just ignore the problem, or to you know, to pretend that what we do in regards to our interaction with the world around us doesn't matter, is naive and dangerous. And yeah, we need to. I would rather err on the side of caution, you know, than fuck things up too bad. So, yeah. Number 20. What would be your ideal candidate's position on legal immigration? Legal, as in not illegal, right? Yeah. Legal immigration. Would support the interests of groups such as the Federation for American Immigration Reform, which seeks to reduce legal immigration levels. No, you know, if people want to come over here, if, you know, as long as there, you know, there are channels and there's a naturalization process and all that cool stuff, then nah. So I would favor a more open immigration policy, holding the opinion that foreign workers are a valuable and necessary addition to our labor pool, and, you know, for that reasons and others. So, but the way that question is phrased, that I'm actually going to put my priority low, just that seems kind of weird. Number 21, what would be your ideal candidate's position on illegal immigration? Aha, that's much more interesting. Would support both amnesty/permanent legalization and temporary legalization, guest worker programs for illegal alienation. Perhaps I'll click that for now, and, you know, we'll go down the list, see what happens. Would oppose both amnesty, permanent legalization, and temporary guest worker programs for illegal aliens? No. Would support temporary legalization, guest worker programs for illegal aliens, but oppose permanent amnesty. You know, that's probably a little bit closer. You know, that's the thing about this. There's it's a balance between pragmatism and obeying the letter of the law, and, you know, compassion for your fellow human beings, and you know, and this is an issue where those three things come together and conflict. You can't pretend that, you know, like, it's to a certain extent, yeah, our economy depends on what happen to be illegal immigrant workers. So we need to figure out a way to legally incorporate that sector, you know, however that needs to be done. And I don't pretend to be an expert enough to know exactly what that answer means, but support temporary legalization, maybe. Would support permanent amnesty for illegal aliens, but oppose temporary legalization, guest worker programs. That almost sounds better. Man, you know, I'm still going to leave it with the first one, and just leave the priority in the middle, I guess. But that's a complicated one. That's even though, yeah, that's not the most important thing to me, but that think out of all the issues that we're dealing with, like, that's the one that requires the most careful, studied nuance approach, you know. Number 22, what would be your ideal candidate's position on slavery reparations? Specific actions regarding reparations for slavery include the government apologizing to slave descendants for their hardships. Yes, that's fine. And awarding them financial and or other compensations. I don't know about all that. That's would advocate reparations for slavery. You know, I'm just going to put neither. I didn't think I would end up putting that on any of these, but that's what I'm going to put there. So, you know, we all have people in our past that have been wrong, you know, and yeah, I know it was institutionalized and everything else, and we've come a long way. We're not all the way there, but yeah, like the kind of thing where we're just, you know, here's a check. I don't think that's the answer. But you know, I'm white, so of course I would think that, wouldn't I? So, you know, we can discuss it. Number 23. What would be your ideal candidate's political or professional qualifications? Interesting. A national level elected representative, i.e. a member of Congress. That's cool. Oh yeah, select, none, any, or all. This is cool. Okay, so that's good. An elected executive, like a governor or mayor. That's good. Military leader, that actually, no. No. You know, military leaders, that's, you know, let's let them do that. Yeah, that's, you know, I'm not opposed by any means to, you know, someone that has a military background, but that's, I don't think that's the most important thing. You know, it's, I'm more concerned with someone, I guess, knowing how and when to use the military, you know, and I guess the how, you know, experience as a military leader would be good, but not the when so much. So, and that's what's more important to me, I guess. Business owner or executive, maybe, you know, like you're talking about being, you know, the VP of Halliburton or something. No, you know, someone that ran a mom and pop convenience store, you know, for 20 years. That would actually interest me. So I think I'm going to leave that unchecked, though. Lawyer, no. Journalist, broadcast commentator, or author. Authorship of campaign books, which are frequently ghostwritten, have been ignored. Maybe, I don't know. You know, if Bill Maher or Jon Stewart ran for office, that'd be interesting. Professor, teacher, or lecturer, yes. Doctor, I don't think that's important. You know, I'm not opposed to a doctor running, but that's doesn't do it for me. So, number 24, what would be your ideal candidate's presidential campaign experience? My ideal candidate will be a fresh face who has not campaigned for the presidency before. My ideal candidate will have experience of campaigning for president. It doesn't matter to me. That shouldn't matter, right? Whether, you know, the person is. That's like a meta issue. I don't know. What is the preferable age for your ideal candidate upon assuming office? Select none, any, or all. Yeah, sorry, John McCain. 75 or older is probably too old. You know, like I'd like to see a young face. I really would. You know, I mean, I'm gonna go and check. I'm including here 35 to 64, and I'm not including 65 to 75. I really wish I had a way to rate this. I'd put it at the low end. You know, so number 26 is the last one. Thanks for hanging in there, folks. Which of these are preferable marital statuses for your ideal candidate? I would actually, that's interesting. Widowed, unmarried, or widowed, remarried. You know, I'm just gonna leave that blank. That's, yeah, I'm not gonna try to dissect that. So, here we go, the moment of truth. Show my results, and I really frickin' hope I haven't, like, been on this page too long or something. Let's see if it's going to work. Please check out this special offer while your results load. No thank you. Where's the no thank you? Skip. Oh, jeez. No, click here. There we go. You bastards. Okay, so my theoretical ideal candidate, 100%, right? That's number one. That's cool. I like how they do that. Number two, actually, I got Ralph Nader with 90%. And he's running. So, you see, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. If we had instant runoff voting, right, I could vote for Ralph Nader. But then, so he's number 2, and he's scored highest for me. And then number 3 is Dennis Kucinich. He's withdrawn. That's 88%, right behind Ralph Nader. Number 4, Barack Obama with 83%. See, so he even you know, he's not my perfect candidate, but that's who I'm voting for as of now, at least. Number 5, Cynthia McKinney. See, again, 82%. Like, how cool is that? So if we had instant runoff voting, I would actually probably go, if I could pick 3 candidates, I guess based on this, it would be 1, Ralph Nader, 2, Barack Obama, 3, Cynthia McKinney. Like, oh. And let's look at the bottom of the list here. Stephen Colbert, campaign halted. Okay, let's see, where is John McCain? He's number 19 with 28%. Mike Huckabee was 21, 28. Yeah, so definitely not on the McCain side, and it's not apparently because of, you know, my gut feeling. It's because of his stance on the issues, at least according to this. And that, my fellow Americans, that's what we need to make sure we're doing. And I got the sick feeling that way too many people aren't voting with their heads, you know. So thanks for taking this journey with me, and Rabbit Ape out.